Hi, my name is Daria, and in this video, I'll be showing you how to set up a project render in DaVinci Resolve's Deliver page. I've already got a project open. This has been assembled in DaVinci Resolve's Edit page and then color graded in the Color page. So I am now ready to jump into the Deliver page by going to the very bottom of the interface and clicking on the little rocket ship that says Deliver to now access my Deliver page. The interface features just a few panels. On the left-hand side, we have our render settings. This is where you're going to be spending the majority of the time setting up your parameters. At the top, we have our viewer, which is showing you exactly what you're going to be rendering. And to the right of that, we have our render queue, which is going to contain a list of all the jobs that we're going to render. Underneath the viewer, we have two forms of the timeline. We have a thumbnail timeline, similar to the one that we saw in the Color page, which represents every clip as its own still thumbnail image. And then under that is the Edit page timeline, which shows you the exact relationship between the clips, their durations, the various video and audio tracks. At the very top of the page, we have the interface toolbar, which allows us to further customize the layout of the Deliver page. So for example, the render settings by default takes up the entire height of the page, but I can use the collapse button to the left of it to shrink the render settings and prioritize the bottom half of the screen to our timeline. But I will click this arrow to expand render settings so that I can see the full list of controls. An important thing to keep in mind before we jump into the details of the Deliver page is that it takes only 3 steps to set up a render job. Number 1 is going into the render settings and setting up your parameters as needed for your particular project. Number 2 is going into the timeline panel where you'll determine the duration of your render. So by default, the render is set to entire timeline. And then number 3 is clicking Add to Render Queue at the bottom of the render settings. This will place your job into the render queue panel in the top right corner. So just those 3 steps: render settings, timeline duration, and Add to Render Queue. Once all of your render jobs are ready, you can select Render All at the bottom of the render queue, and they will all be output to the location that you select. We'll begin with the Render Settings panel. At the very top, you can see a list of presets that comply with a series of various industry standards. On the far left, we have our custom preset. This offers us the widest set of options in terms of parameters. So it's entirely up to us to decide what video container we want to export in, what encoding language we want to use, our data rate, etc. To the right of that, we have a series of user-generated content video site presets. These presets were developed using the specifications offered on these websites, and in some cases directly in collaboration with those websites to produce the optimal settings for your videos. As you continue down the preset list, you can see that we have a series of master presets. We also have IMF video deliverables for high-end streaming services. A little drop-down arrow next to some of the presets allow you to specify with more precision where you're delivering to or what resolution you're delivering. So in this case, you can see that Disney Plus and Netflix streaming services are supported. Then, as you continue down this list, we also support round-trip workflows in case you're working with collaborators who are not using DaVinci Resolve. These type of round-trip presets tend to generate 2 types of files. One will be a set of trimmed media of all your edits on the timeline, and the other will be an XML file that they can use to reconstruct the edit on their end. So this is a pretty popular workflow if you're acting as just a colorist on the project as opposed to an all-around editor or collaborator. I'm going to navigate all the way back to the left, and we will indeed set up a job based on a preset. So I'll have YouTube set to 1080p. But I'd like to modify it a little bit. So I'd like to raise the data rate so that the quality of the video is increased. If I want to have further control over my parameters instead of just relying on the preset, I can click on the word custom next to YouTube, and that will expand my controls back to the custom selection, but it will still carry across all of the preset settings from the previous YouTube selection. So when I click on the video tab at the top, I can see that it's already set to the QuickTime format, which is what YouTube recommends, in the appropriate H.264 codec. But here I can navigate to my quality controls, which refer to my data rate, and I could decide to increase this to 12,000. So I'll click on the numeric field, type in 12, 0.000, and that's pretty much all I wanted to do for this job. The data rate will have the greatest impact on the visual quality of your video and also on the resulting file size. Oftentimes when you're submitting a video for a festival, so there's usually like an online submission form, it will also give you a limit on your video size. And if you do a bit of math, you can sort of reverse engineer and calculate exactly what your data rate limitation is. And that way you can increase the quality of your video while still